What's up YouTube, this is Tian bringing you a new type of video. Today we're going to be talking about how to sustain maps, but I'm going to be talking over footage of another fellow streamer. His name is Sylvie Plays, and I had a long-standing offer on my stream. I get the question tons of times a league, which is, Tian, I'm doing the same things you're doing, but I'm not able to sustain maps. And so I've had an offer where I said, hey, if you have a video of you doing some content, I would like to see it and then maybe figure out what you're doing wrong because it's hard for me to tell. Are you not chiseling? Are you not alking? Maybe you're not killing all the monsters in the map. Maybe you're picking a bad map. Maybe it's Shaper Elder Influence. Anyways, there was no way for me to know without seeing some gameplay footage. Well, Sylvie took me up on that offer and has posted a video about 4 hours or so of him doing 20 or so maps in a shaped belfry map. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things he did right, some of the things he did wrong, and then overall just talking about what affects your map drops. And so I'll get right into that. If you're a new player and you don't really know what affects your map drops, there's basically two things that matter. One is the quantity on your map, and the other is the amount of monsters on your map. You wouldn't want to have really high quantity and not a lot of monsters. And similarly, you wouldn't want to have a ton of monsters and not have very much quantity on your map. Again, quantity on your player does not affect map drops. So, whatever you've heard about that, there's a post by Chris Wilson from GGG, and he says player increased item quantity does not affect your map drops. Okay, so let's get into quantity on your map. That means chisels, which adds quality, and quality also gives quantity. There's alchemies, and that just adds more mods to the map. And that's also the power of valing. So when you chisel and then alch, you get the quality initially, and then you're adding more mods to the map, which can then give you anywhere from like 4 to 6 normally with an alchemy orb. Or then when you val, you can get possibly up to 8 mods on the map. Each mod giving a different amount of quantity to the map, but that potential is there for really high map returns. The last thing that adds quantity to the map is fragments, and those are Itziri fragments. You get them from running corrupted maps, so kind of some synergy there by valuing your maps. You get those Zac frags. You could also buy them from other players if you're in a trade league. So those are the things that affect quantity on your map. What affects the monsters on your map? Well, there's a lot of things. One is just picking a large map, and so that's one thing that I noticed is, he chose Belfry as a map. It's a great map. I love the layout of it, but it's in general a smaller map when you compare it to a map like Underground Sea or Haunted Mansion, which are very large maps, contain a lot more monsters. And, if you guys understand multiplication, getting more quantity on more monsters means more map drops, right? So, picking a smaller map, it's not bad per se. It's just you have to understand that you're not going to get as many maps as somebody running a larger map. What else affects monsters on the map? It's one, picking a large map. Two, your sextants on the map. He does a good job of this, runs it with full sextants. And then prophecies, does a good job of prophecies. Here in the background, he's running a monstrous treasure in the background, and I think he's looking out for strongbox mods that add monsters. There he just clicked a magical strongbox without looking to see, hey, is there stream of monsters? Is there add a rare monster pack? I guess different from other strongbox rolling, when you're rolling a strongbox inside of a monstrous treasure, you're looking for mods that give more monsters. Stream of monsters, rare packs, magical packs. You want to make sure you're getting the most out of these strongboxes because each monster in there has 500% quantity, which is multiplying with the map quantity, which is multiplying with your player quantity if you're searching for div cards and things like that. So really important to roll for additional monsters there. League mechanics is another thing that adds monsters to the map. Here, I think one of the things that he's not doing is doing his league mechanic. He's not doing the syndicate encounters. So, I think he's maybe playing hardcore or something like that, but not doing research. He has research kind of permanently in there. And so he's just, for whatever reason, not going into research. These league mechanics, depending on what league you're in, can add tons and tons of monsters to the map. Here in Betrayal League, it's no exception. There's a lot of monsters in those research labs, in those other areas. So I guess I'll start by talking about how to over sustain your maps. I get the question a lot, TM, would you val the maps or run the Zeta map mods or just eat the cost and do both? I always talk about over sustaining your maps. Just go all in. Put everything you possibly can on the map to start over sustaining. And only once you've started over sustaining tons and tons of maps, maybe skimp on not using frags or not using a Zeta map mod or something like that. But if you start by doing that, you're not going to be getting the maximum possible. And like I said, all those things kind of multiply with each other over the course of hundreds and hundreds of maps. So I think overall, Sylvie Plays is a good player, kind of understands the basic concepts of map returns and things like that, but, is kind of half-assing it in some areas. So I'll talk about some of the things that he did wrong. So there's no Elder influence on this particular one. He's putting his sextants on, but, not actually going and running a map right now. Watching it kind of frustrates me because I'm like, if you just run any other map right now, there's Elder and Shaper on the border of that map. If you go run any map and you complete it, and by complete it I mean either kill the boss or do 60% of the map, it'll give you a tick of influence on the atlas, and Belfry will very likely have Shaper or Elder influenced afterwards. A really popular map is like City Square because the bosses are right next to the entrance, so you can go in there and run it really fast, get a tick of the influence, and then run the map that you actually want to run with the influence. So that's just a small improvement that he can make to his gameplay. I think he's doing a good job of setting up the Elder Square, but then about 3 maps into his 20 map session gives up on maintaining the influence because maybe he doesn't understand how to get the influence onto his map. So those are the things I noticed when watching his gameplay. I'm sure there's a lot more. Shout out to Sylvie for letting me look at his footage and getting this series started. If you guys have any questions in the comments, feel free to leave them, and I will offer this service to anybody else who's having trouble sustaining maps. Offer me up your gameplay and I'll see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and we can talk over it in a video. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you guys in the next one.